ever since President Biden was campaigning for office, there's been talks of a first-time homebuyer tax credit, because when he was on the campaign trail, it's something that he threw out there to potentially get votes or what have you. And so we constantly get people asking, can I benefit from this tax credit? When is it going to happen? And my response has always been one of, it's just conversation. There's not even a bill on the table at the moment. Nothing in stone to even be voted on. So the reality of something like this happening is unknown. And that's kind of been my stance on it, especially with a housing market that is, crazy to some regards, multiple offers, low supply, high demand, and all of that, just kind of feed the frenzy, if you will, with another benefit for home buyers. And then last week, you had a new video that I published, and actually a lot of YouTubers put stuff out there on a $25,000 grant, and a lot of people dubbed it as Biden's $25,000 grant to first-time home buyers, or tax credit to first-time home buyers. It was mislabeled many times, and the reality is it actually had nothing to do with Biden. It wasn't proposed by Biden. It was actually proposed by Maxine Waters, and since then, we've had a lot of people comment on videos asking questions and talk about, why they can't benefit from it, because there were a lot of nuances to it, income restrictions. There were, if your parents had owned a home before, you weren't eligible for it. So there were a lot of people, that, felt discriminated against. And I had a lot of comments on videos where people were upset because they didn't qualify or couldn't qualify based on that. And again, that was just a draft. It wasn't a bill. It was nothing to be voted on. It was just something proposed. But today's a little bit different, because now we actually have a bill on the table that's going to be voted on. Now, this is a bill that was proposed by two U.S. representatives, both Democrats, and we'll bring up kind of a summary of it here in just a moment that goes over, what they're proposing. Now, this, again, is a first-time home buyer tax credit. This is not a grant. This is actually going to be a credit, so that you're going to have to purchase a home and then you'll get a credit back on your tax returns. This is going to be money provided to you at closing, as Biden had kind of mentioned in the campaign trail. That was kind of his proposal. And then Waters proposal was a $25,000 grant. Well, this is actually a $15,000 tax credit, or up to $15,000 tax credit that they're proposing. So, I'll put a link below to the link that I'm grabbing here, which is coming from Housing Wire, where they wrote a little summary on it. I took some time to highlight it to go over the things that I think are important for viewers out there, because again, get a lot of questions on this, and this is the things that I feel like you can relate to, or that will answer the questions that you have. So let's take a minute here and pull that up, give you a little bit of information. So again, this is being proposed by, United States Representative Earl Blumenauer and Representative Jimmy Panetta. Democrat, California, and Oregon introduced, again, new legislation dubbed the First-Time Homebuyer Act. The bill would provide a tax credit for first-time home buyers of up to 10% of the purchase price, or $15,000. So up to $15,000. I think that's important, because it's not $15,000, it's 10%, or up to $15,000. So if it's a $100,000 home, you got 10 grand. If it's a $200,000 home, then obviously $15,000 towards that. In order to be eligible for the full credit, potential buyers must not have owned or purchased a home within the last 3 years. So if you don't own a home now, you haven't purchased one in the last 3 years, you would be eligible if this were to pass. Now, again, keep in mind, this is just a bill. It has not been voted on. It has not been approved. It has not been stamped by Biden as something that's in stone. This is how it would work if it actually passes. So your parents have nothing to do with it. They're taken out of the equation, based on the last bill, which I'll reference here if you want a link to that, where the $25,000 grant. But this one is being proposed for those that have not purchased a home within the last 3 years or owned a home in that time frame. Program would be targeted to low and middle income earners. Participants must also make no more than $160,000 of the area median income, and the home's purchase price must be no more than 110% of the area median purchase price. What is the area median purchase price? You could probably Google it. Last week we talked in a video where I talked about the California housing market. California's median home price, California as a whole, not just my area, is around $750,000. So 110% of that is what, $825,000. So a home any more than $825,000 would not qualify. Any home less than $825,000 would qualify for that. Borrowers could claim the credit for primary residences purchased after December 31st, 2020. So it's retroactive. So a lot of people said, well, I've already purchased a home. Could I get the credit? In this case, if this were to pass, the answer is yes. If you purchased it in 2021, so after December 31st, 2020, you would be eligible for that credit or that tax credit if it were to pass. Borrowers would need to use the home as a primary residence for at least 4 years or face taxes to recover a portion of the credit. So that was similar to the one that Maxine Waters proposed, the $25,000 grant that I mentioned. In a prepared statement, Blumenauer, I guess that's right, hinted that there may be room for both proposals. So saying, they did say that this isn't a part of Biden's larger infrastructure bill, the one that was proposed by Maxine Waters, but he did say that this, could go alongside of the other bill potentially. So the other one's not necessarily off the table at the moment. The refundable tax credit proposed in the bill would increase homeownership among low and moderate income Americans, especially those from marginalized communities with historically low homeownership rates. So, the reason they're doing this is to promote homeownership, right? All right. So, yeah. So they're proposing it to help with home ownership. Again, it's one of those things that it's hard to say if something like this could pass in the environment that we're in right now with low supply, high demand. Something like this just adds fuel to the fire, right? A lot of people have commented on videos saying, hey, if they pass $15,000 tax credit, that just means properties are going to go up $15,000. Not necessarily, but it could drive demand even further to push, people bidding against each other, which could end up pushing those prices higher. So, as I'll state one more time, this is not in stone. It's a bill that's been proposed. It would have to be voted on by Congress and then have to go in front of Biden in order to be signed and actually be implemented. So we're a ways away from something like this happening. We're actually further along than I thought we would be, to be completely honest. I didn't know that a bill would even be proposed at this point just because of the environment. But, something is on the table. So, I will continue to update you as more information is out on this. Again, this is just coming out right now. But if you have questions, comments for me, do me a favor, reach out. Happy to address them. Happy to have that conversation. I appreciate you taking the time to watch. Appreciate the support. Hope to see you again soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.